Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michał Futyra. I'm an academic teacher and business trainer. I have been involved in intercultural communication and international mediation and negotiation for almost 19 years. For several years, I was the head in a small academic unit in Institute for Research on Civilization when I and my colleagues researched a different business culture from almost around the world and also in Southeast Asian countries. As a trainer and a business advisor, I help my clients to improve collaboration with culturally different and because of that sometimes problematic partners. And I'm also one of the trainer in Creator company, a company I have the pleasure of working with. At Creator, during every training session, we try to provide participants the base of practical knowledge. And today I will share this kind of knowledge with you also. At the same time, I would like to take you on a very short travel throughout the topic of intercultural communication, but in the context of collaboration with Filipinian partners and co-workers. So we will try to find the answer for the question how to improve communication and how to improve collaboration between you and your colleagues from Philippines. So let's start. And before that, let me share with you some short presentation that will be easier to, let's say, navigate and explain some basic things. Okay, so I think it's ready now. So yeah, let's start. So at the beginning, some general information about this fascinating country. So the first important thing is that the official name of the country is the Republic of Philippines or Republika ng Pilipinas in Filipino. It operates as a unitary presidential constitutional republic with the president Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. currently serving as a president. So the country, the president, serves as both in the same time as a head of the state and head of the government. And this is the difference between Poland and the Philippines. In Poland, we have the two separate different persons who play these two roles. In Philippines, no, there is the same one person, and you can see the President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. photo on the presentation. The capital of the country is the Manila, but this is not the largest city. The largest city is the Quezon City, which is located in the Manila municipal area. The border of these two cities are very close, and but still, Manila is not the biggest one, and the currency used in the Philippines right now is a peso. And the country is also well known for the remittances sent by overseas Filipino workers, which play a crucial role in its economy. I will show you something more about these workers. I mean, about the overseas Filipino workers, because this is some type of phenomenon on Philippines. The overseas Filipino workers are Filipinos who work abroad, often in industries like healthcare, like construction, like domestic services. They are crucial to the Philippines economy, sending home remittances that support millions, but really millions of families. In 2024, overseas Filipino workers contributed over 30 billion US dollars in remittances, which boost household income and drive national economic growth. If we consider this topic in the field of maritime industry, we can see how important seafarers are for national economy. So let me share you some interesting statistics. So the first is that during 2020, approximately 400,000 Filipino seafarers were employed worldwide, So that constituting about 25% of the global seafaring population. So like you can see, so the Filipinian sailors are the biggest group from each nations. In last year, in 2023, the Philippines deployed more than 500,000 seafarers overseas. So this number is increasing from year to year. So the population is relatively young, with a median age around 25, 26 years. And this youthful demographic is, we can say, the key driver of the country's dynamism and growth potential for sure. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the country rich ethnic diversity. The largest ethnic group in the Philippines is the Tagalog people, primarily found in the central Luzon region, including Metro Manila. Why the Tagalog people are important? Because this group plays a central role in shaping Filipino identity and in the politics, especially since the Filipino language is based on Tagalog language. And we have also some significant and large ethnic groups, including Cebuano, who are predominantly located in a Visaya region and part of the Mindanao, like Ilocano native of the northern Luzon region, like Bisaya, a general group across the Visaya and the Mindanao, Bicolano from the Bicol Peninsula and the southern, Luzon, and also Varay people who are from eastern Visaya. And these groups have preserved distinct traditions, different languages, and distinct practices, and contribute to the nation cultural richness. What is important about the country? So now, before we talk about strictly about the business culture, now let me tell you something more about the geography, society, national culture, and the history. Why this is important? Because without this, it will be difficult to understand Filipino work activity perspective. So the Philippines, located between the South China Sea and the Philippine Sea, is home to, like I said, diverse landscapes and, like I said previous, hundreds of languages and the local cultures. Over the years, influences from Spain, China, and the United States have shaped Filipino culture. So Filipinos are proud of their history of independence, but remain deeply connected to their families and the hometowns. The sense of the patriotism is understood by the Filipinos more as a devotion to the region, to the island, or to the ethnic group, than to the idea of Philippine citizenship. And this is one of the differences between, let's say, for example, Poles and Filipinos. So when Poles, or if I try to say that who I am, I will say that I'm Poles, and probably then I will add that I'm living in Małopolska province and in the Kraków city. Filipinos will start, or he or she say first that they are a Tagalog person. They are come from Tagalog tribe or the ethnic group from, for example, Manila, and probably in the end, he or she will add that they are Filipino. So the sense of the patriotism and the self-identity, it's different than the most of the European countries. So, like I said, almost 2,000 islands in Philippines are inhabited, and these islands are grouped into the three main regions. So the first one is the Luzon, and you can see this map in this slide. So that this is a blue color in the map. So that this is the Luzon. Visayas is the center, the yellow one, and the Mindanao in the south is the red color. And this is the main division of the country. The official language is Filipino, which is mostly based, like I said, on Tagalog language, with influences from other languages. So the English is also widely spoken because of the past, because of the history, and many Filipinos mixed the Tagalog language and the English in everyday conversations. A practice called this third language is Taglish. So they mix some words from English and Tagalog, and they use this language in everyday communication. But no worry, don't worry. When they speak with outsiders, they usually use the classic, let's say, Oxford English. The Philippines is very diverse, so forming a national identity has been complex. A sense of unity grew during the fight for independence with figures like Jose Rizal. You also can see this man in the right corner of the slide. And Jose Rizal is, or he was, let's say, the most known for his national hero for each Filipinos. He's the greatest national hero. He becoming symbols of Filipino pride, and everybody, like I said, in the country know him, and he's a probably great topic to small talk with your Filipino friends when you will meet. So Filipinos take great pride in their families and their communities, frequently sharing stories about their family on the village. And it's also the great topic to small talk with them. The country's colonial history has left lasting influences. So, for example, American beauty standards, such as fair skin or curly hair, are often admired by the Filipinos. So there are two main ideas to understand Filipino mentality, because if you want to talk about the collaboration, effective collaboration, we need to understand these two ideas. The first one is kapwa, and the second is hiya. So let me show you the next slide, and I want to tell you a couple of more words about the kapwa. So the Filipinos believe that is good for one person should also benefit the group, and they often feel a responsibility to share their blessings with others. So having kapwa shows that you care about others and you belong to the community. So when you having kapwa, it means that someone is the part of the group of the people. If someone is seen as lacking kapwa, it can be considered offensive because it suggests that someone is selfish or disconnect from others. And practicing kapwa often involves helping others, showing the kindness to the strangers. It's also maintaining harmony with the other people, with the group of people that you live with. It highlights that the Filipino believe that people are stronger and happier when they work and live with other people, when they live together. So, like you see, it's something different because in the Western world, we think that we are individuals, and we used to think about our personal interest and probably maybe the closest people from family. I mean, children, for example. So this is a different in case of Filipino. Like you see, the kapwa is divided. Like you see in the slide, the kapwa is divided into two categories, two, let's say, part. The first one is ibang tao. Ibang tao. So what you should to do for unknown people, and the Hindi ibang tao, how you should be for your own, the closest people. So remember of the kapwa. Remember to be kind and to live with your friends if you want to be entered into the trusting people from the Filipino perspective. And the second idea, which is important to understand our Filipino partners, so the second main idea to understand Filipino soul is hiya. The concept of hiya is a deeply ingrained cultural values that significantly shapes how Filipinos behave and interact with others. So while the word hiya is often, let's say, translated into English as a, let's say, shame or embarrassment, but its meaning goes beyond this simple, I would say, the simple definition. So it is a core here, encompasses one's sense of self-worth, dignity, propriety, and respect for and from others. So it is a social and emotional guide that influences people actions and decisions to maintain calm on the relationship. So here is tied to the idea of how one is perceived by others. So it's less about personal guilt or internal failure and more about avoiding public disgrace or social discomfort. In Filipino culture, avoiding here is critical because it preserves both personal and collective dignity within a community. So what makes the Philippines unique in this part of the world is that there is the majority of its population, about right now almost 93%, identify as a Christians. So Christianity is the dominant religion in the Philippines, and the Catholicism is the largest denomination. So in fact, when we looked on this belief Christians, in the islands. So almost 83, 84% of Filipinos are Catholic. So because of that, and this is the reason why they are close or the closest Asians for us. I mean, for people who are come from the Christian country, and from religious perspective, they are similar somehow to Poles. Aside from Catholicism, there are other Christian groups in the Philippines. For example, almost 3% of Filipinos are evangelical Christians, 2.5 are members of Iglesia Ni Cristo, and Iglesia Ni Cristo is the local church. It's typical local independent Christian Filipino church. I cannot fail to mention about the Islam, which is practiced about 5% of the country population. It's not too much, but Islam is important from the identity perspective for some of Filipinos. So Islam came to the southern Philippines from neighboring countries like Malaysia and Indonesia during the let's say, Middle Ages time. If you look at the map in the upper right corner of this slide, you will notice that Islam is practiced primarily in the southern part of the Mindanao. So this red color and the bright yellow color, there is the place where you will find most of Muslims, and also to be honest, you will find some Islam communities, ummas in the biggest city, like for example in the capital. One of interesting and the fascinating thing, impressive but also a little bit shocking phenomenon related to the Catholicism in the Filipino is every year unique Holy Week tradition. Probably most of you, or maybe some of you, heard or see maybe some films, documentary films about this, particularly in the Pampanga and the parts of the Metro Manila. There are unique and dramatic form of religious devotion occurs during Holy Week. In Filipino, it's Semana Santa. This tradition involves the reenactment to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, with some participants going to the extreme of being physically nailed to a cross, like you see in this slide and in this photo. All right, so due to the historical Spanish and especially American influence in the Philippines, the attitude of the country's people toward health and healthcare issues are, let's say, similar to the of European things about this. But the main problem, or the problem may relate to safety rules. So in countries where safety is, let's say, less developed, and the Philippines is such a country, Multinational companies often implement training programs to help bring employees up to expected standards. So as a leader of Filipino employees, it's worth to remember about a couple of general but important things. So the first thing is regular health and safety training in the workplace that will be repeated occasionally. So one-time training will not be necessary enough for your Filipino coworkers. During the training, explain the rules a couple of times and answer for their question. And that will help you, or because of that, you probably will have, you will know that your partners from Filipino will understand your, I mean, when I'm saying your, I mean your company standards. The second thing is place the emphasis when talking to employees about wearing protective equipment and imposing negative consequences if someone does not follow this rule. Discuss about health policies, about the insurance unemployed has, employees has, and the rights they have because of the insurance. This element is particularly important because the Filipinos who avoid confrontation, if they have any problem or opposite opinion, that's important because they tend to hide the problems or not admit the problems. So this attitude can be dangerous, especially when Filipinos work as a part of the team and where the collaboration and focus and good health is important. Knowing that an injury and a health problem are not something negative. Express this because that will also help you to build the trust between you as a supervisor or as a leader or the boss and your Filipino coworkers. One more important information in this point. It is important in the context of health policy and safe policy for you that you as a boss, when you talk about this openly, you as a boss showing your concern and which increase the loyalty and productivity of your Filipino workers, co-workers. And when we talk about the non-verbal communication, so it's also worth to remember about couple of things. So let's start with the most important point, most important information. Filipino culture is counted among the cultures in which people shorten the spatial distance. So during a conversation, Filipinos usually approach the interlocutor with the person that they're talking about. They shorten the distance of much more than the people from, let's say, colder cultures. The standard for the Filipino culture in personal distance is from 30 to 50 centimeters. So for so-called, like I said, cold cultures, and the Polish culture is the cold culture, the spatial personal standard distance is around 1 meter. So like you can see, it is a significantly longer distance. The best solution is to endure the shortening of the distance and to get used to it. There is no better rule in this. We need to get into interaction with the people who like, let's say, shorten distance and get to use it. Just this, and unfortunately, that is not easy for us, people from colder culture. The second issue is expression. So Filipinos use more gesture and move their hands dynamically during casual conversation. This culture, during the personal contact, the people from the Philippines are much more dynamic. So that could be a problem because when they combine this with the loud conversation tone, this kind of behavior of cultures that are not very expressive, and the Poland is culture like that, can be trisome at first. That is difficult for us because we feel, let's say, not so comfortable with the contact with the people who are so dynamic, like Filipinos. Filipinos avoid eye contact, especially when they have the contact with the supervisor. So they prefer much more subtle glances to staring into the face of the people they talk with. Filipinos also among the most offensive gesture. When we talk about the offensive gesture in the Philippine culture, is pointing a finger at someone or calling someone out with a wave of hand. So this is the most common negative gesture that showing that you do not respect people or that you don't want to have the contact with them. I mean, when negative in the negative way that the first thing is that you disrespect the people, or using this gesture is showing that you are higher in the hierarchy than your Filipino partners. Even is this true, it's good to avoid this let's say autocratic gestures. And finally, one more thing. This is some uh, fun fact, interesting fact from outside the business world. So the most famous Filipino gesture generally is the gesture that the Filipinos called pagmamano. It means blessing. In the Philippines, showing respect to the older is a tradition that has survived from generation. An honoric gesture, we can call this pagmamano gesture, involves a young person asking an older person for his or her hand and gently touching his or her forehead with it while bowing. The practice is common when someone is visiting, let's say, relatives or meeting the grandparents. But like I said, in the business contact, they do not use this gesture at all. So maybe thanks God, because that would be strange when someone will take your hand and trying to touch his forehead. Okay, so let's now, when we have this short introduction to the Filipino country, which show us some important points of how Filipinos think about themselves. And this is also have the crucial impact into how they think about themselves in the let's say job space or professional sphere. So let's consider the cultural differences in the context of the collaboration with Philippine co-workers, and because of that, we will compare some business cultures to understand the differences in the correct way. So first thing is that first of all, we need to remember that the people do not think in the same way, and this difference have a crucial impact for task realizations. So Filipinos are often considered like holistic thinkers, especially in the context of work. So what does it mean to be a holistic thinker? What is the Filipinian perspective? So, simply put, it means looking at the big picture rather than focusing on individual parts. The Filipinos tend to approach tasks, relationships, and challenges in a way that considers to overall context, connections, and outcomes. So in a work collaboration, this mindset manifests in let's say several ways. The first one is focus on relationships. So Filipinos place a strong emphasis on relationships and group harmony. So they understand that effective teamwork isn't just because completing tasks. It's about building trust and ensuring everyone feels included and valued. So this makes them excellent team players who prioritize maintaining good rapport. The second thing is understanding connection between people. So when working, Filipinos tend to think about how each task or decision impact to the entire team organization. So they see their role as a part of a larger whole, which help them adapt and contribute meaningfully to the group success. So, and because of that, Filipinos see the company in a different way than most of the representatives of Western business culture. And look here in this point, you can see also this idea of CAPFA. So for most of Filipinos, the company is not, let's say, the machine that you are the small part of it, like most of the Western people think. Like for example, we in Poland. For Filipinian people, the company is like you see here, the group of people working together. They are connected by the social relations with each other and with organizations. So the effectiveness of the company is depends on relations between people. I'm sorry. So Filipinians people think, and they almost sure that the most important is not the task, not the duties, but the people inside the organization. And from their perspective, if you are the leader, you need to pay attention of that, to create these links between the people, between the workers, between you and your team. Moreover, when we talk about this element, is also, sorry, remember about the collective decision making. So collaboration in the Philippines is often involved getting input from all members of the team. So even if someone is in a leadership position, they will likely consult others of ensure decision aligned with the group's goals and values. But particularly, the Filipinos want to be entered into the collective decision making only if your decision is important for the group. The first is do not to expect from Filipinos workers that what we call self-initiative. In Filipino culture, self-initiative is not necessarily a good thing. So if you are a supervisor of a Filipino, be ready to strictly assign the task. You must come up with initiative and orders to become completed. And the second thing, I'm sorry, when you are explaining something, do not just focus on explaining what to do and how to do, but also holistic minded Filipinos need information on why he or she should do something. So not only how and not only what and how, but also try to find the answer and tell it why they should do something and explain them to this. So like you see in the scale, Filipinian people are more holistic people, and at the same time, Poles and some of European countries or from Western civilizations are more like analytical thinkers. So this is the first division. But there are still a couple of important things that we need to remember about from the cultural perspective. In business, like you probably know, that trust is everything. So if we are working with a Filipino partner, we should keep in mind that our classic way of building trust will not necessarily work with them. But what is important, when you once gain the trust, it's impossible to lose it. So how to do this? Spend time with your Filipino coworkers, eat meals with them, eat meals together, get to know each other from the private perspective. And most importantly, if you gave your words, always keep it. Because the Filipino culture is a culture of the spoken word, where a promise means more than a signature on a document. So if you give your words, your Filipino partners, always, but really, always keep it, because this is the main key to build the trust with Filipinian partners, not only Filipinian partners, but also from the, let's say, relational culture, or in the different term of this phenomenon, cultural phenomenon, is the pro-partnership culture, where this partnership is the crucial thing. Next thing is the problem. I mean, the problematic in cooperation with Filipinos are problems, and I mean it literally. So Filipinos are in the habit of avoiding and mitigating conflicts and misunderstandings. Whenever possible, most Filipinos will pretend that everything is fine, there is no problem, even even if the truth is different. So people in this culture pretend not to see the problem rather than solve them. They can be annoying, especially when it involves, let's say, professional things. So if you catch a Filipino making mistake or lying, you will probably hear that it wasn't him, or it wasn't his hand. And what is important, publicly admitting a mistake, and even more pointing out a mistake, is an easy path to conflict. So in this situation, always remember to support negative information or negative feedback only in one-to-one, never with the, let's say, wider group, never with the witnesses. So when we want to illustrate how close or how far some business cultures are in the context of building trust, we can illustrate it using the cultural scales. And here in this slide, you can see this. So cultures located in the middle of the scale and around the zero maintain a balance in task-based and relationship-based trust building characteristics and methods. The higher the tilt on the scale, the more typical, let's say, behavior for one of the trust building methods. So the Philippines, the Filipino culture, like you see, is a typical relational culture. And only few cultures in the world are so, we'll say, pro-partnership culture. So with Filipinos, it's good to treat the building positive relationship as a long-term investment with a high rate of return. So give your time, give yourself, give your time to get to know your partner and co-workers from Philippines. So try to think about this relations in this way, like long-term investment. Next thing is, remember that Filipinos pay attention not only what kind of employee or what kind of leaders you are, but mainly what kind of person you are. You are nervous, cordial, funny, friendly, angry, or understanding. This is important because Filipino people, they see the company not as a whole, but how the leaders are. So if if the leader is friendly, so all company is friendly. If the leaders is nervous, so for Filipino people, this is the message that all company is nervous. Also take into account gender differences, because the Filipino men may have the problem with the respect instructions given by women. Okay, so right now, let's go to the next module. And the most, I think, the complicated issue in a cross-cultural cooperation is how we communicate messages to each other. So in other words, saying the difficult art is to speak in such a way that we are heard and are listened to. And these two things are not the same. And that we properly know how to read the message themselves and what's in between, what lies between the lies, we would say, in this context. So when we looking on a act of communication, when we look at the conversation as if through a wide open window, I mean, the Filipinos look on the communication act as throughout a wide open window. So words, gestures, the interlocutor's place in the company hierarchy, the choice of words, the posture. These all elements are important during the conversation, during the communication. The Filipinos sends and receives, sends and read many messages between the lines. Not only communicate, not only messages important, but much more, let's say, elements of communication. So Filipinos often express their opinions and ideas in a diplomatic way with humility. So they prefer a non-confrontational approach. As a coming across as arrogant or overly assertive is considered inappropriate. So, for instance, during a discussion, they may carefully phrase their words to ensure they don't offend you, they don't offend someone, or cause discomfort to others. This is important because I'm sorry, we used to say, let's say, short messages and we say what we think about. So another element of the high context communication is that, let's say, highly contextual Filipinos tend to add the substance to the message they hear. So you can see in this table what the low context supervisor, for example, says and what the Filipino may hear. For example, let's look for the first sentence. When you are the leader, supervisor, and when you say something like, do it, please. So for you is the clear message. But for high context Filipinos, he will hear it, do it, and he will add he can add something like, I'll do this when I have a moment. So the most important thing is to say or spell messages is as low context as possible. For example, do it please until 5 o'clock. So you need to give your coworkers simple but moreover clear message. Do everything it's possible to, let's say, create this sentence, create the message in the way that someone will not add something in this message. So there are a couple of, let's say, strategies that we can use to assess as low context as possible. Before that, let's look on the cultural scale. And even here, you can see that Filipinos are an extremely high context culture. So that's why precise explanations and, let's say, proven strategies are so important. So we have only a couple of more higher context culture, like, for example, China, like Japan, and some of African cultures. So in this context and from this perspective, we need to remember about this, like I said, couple of strategies. So the first thing, when you collaborate with the higher contextual Philippine partners, try to support as many qualifying open questions as possible. For example, what is the chance that you will finish the task for tomorrow? Because when you ask someone in this way, if you support open questions, so is it possible that he or she will, during the answering you will see something is wrong. You will have the chance to, let's say, hear or observe what is the main point, what is the unclear for them. Every time, provide a comprehensive, holistic view of the problem. So always explain why something is important, why someone need to do something. The holistic comprehensive, broader view for holistic thinkers. And this also good practice is listen and read between the lines. if your Filipino partner will tell you, I try, I do my best, that could be a difficult. All these messages can means I can't, I don't know how to do this, I will not do this. So trust yourself and hear between the lines. And also, there's a good, let's say, fantastic practice from and this American rule. You see here the strategy in the lower context, but also this low context rule is also good when you collaborate with higher context people. What is the rule? Firstly, tell them what you are going to tell them, then tell them, then repeat what have you told them. So repeat the same simple message orders, but in a different ways. And this is the best rule how to, let's say, communicate effectively with your Filipino partners. And here also we can, when we summarize this point, we have also good practice. So first thing, pay attention to this of the style of asking open questions, demands, and requests. If you have the chance, observe behavior, observe the non-verbal communication. Don't present unfavorable facts or negative information in front of many people. Take care take care of private channels of communication with employees. Share during the conversation with your private information, because that show them that you're a positive person. In the Filipino culture, physical contacts can vary greatly depending on the relationship. But usually, people they cross the, let's say, barriers. They want to have, let's say, close contact with us. Moreover, when we talk about the smile and laughter, Filipinos often use laughter in their interactions, but its meaning depends on the context. But for them, smiling is the way how to, let's say, send the information that you understand and he or she's understand and she's agree with you. So be careful about this smile with the context of negative feedback. Filipinos often shorten by spatial distance and with their interlocutors and expect openness in sharing items or foods with each other. So sometimes when you, for example, when you think that this is your glass, your Filipino partner will come to, let's say, the office and will take it and he will use your glass and drink the water from your glass. For them, it's not a problem because if we work together, it's not your private, it's our. And it's also good to remember about this. Filipinos usually avoid cursing because it can lead to embarrassment here and loss of face. So using the bad words, cursing it's not the best idea with the companion, with your Filipino friends. In this slide, you can also see one of the interesting, let's say, gesture. The common gesture used to greet is known as mano, often referred as a bless in English. So mano is performed as a sign of respect toward elders and as a way of accepting a blessing from the elder. Of course, in the international working space, the mano is not using, but it's good to know that there is this blessing gestures exist. But when we talking about the gestures, also remember that you shouldn't use this sign that you, let's say, use the finger when you want to, for example, you want to talk with your Filipino friends. Never do this. If you want to say, for example, come to me, use all hand, because using the finger is one of the bad gesture, is offensive gesture. One of the problematic thing also is that how to say no, how to support negative feedback in a uh, cultural, cultural positive way. I would say like that. So in Filipino society, confrontation is treated very negative. So people usually avoid confrontation. So from Filipino perspective, people shouldn't manifest disagreement because this is treated negatively. So open confrontation with the people is unacceptable. Moreover, Filipinian workers, Filipinos, they have the tendency to care for a good atmosphere. And I said this previous couple of times. Look here, what we have here. So the Philippine culture is the one of the most restrictive, avoid confrontation culture. And when you compare it with the, for example, other cultures like Polish, like Slavian and Polish culture, so we are completely in a different place. For us, confrontational disagreement is the standard. And we should remember about this when we have the conflict situation and when we need to, for example, evaluate, when we need to support or give the negative feedback. But don't worry, we have some, let's say, good practices in this sphere. The first one, don't openly ask for attitude and opinion of the issue on an issue, but offer, let's say, 2, 3, 4 solutions to an issue and the task, and ask them to respond. So give them, let's say, different solutions and then discuss. Avoid, if you are the leader, avoid expressing your own opinion at the outset, because Filipinos, most of them will never say no to you, especially if you are the leader. If a problem arises, there is a method, so they personalize the problem and provide anonymity when you expect people to be straightforward. For example, do not say that the someone is the problem and you point them. It's better to say, we have the problem and we need to find the solution. So do not stigmatize the person. On particularly sensitive and important issue, hold a meeting before general meeting. In every group, we have in every, let's say, outsiders group, we have the 1, 2, 3 person who are, let's say, the informal leader. And you will see who is this. So what is the most important thing in this module is that Filipinian people are more diplomatic. They provide negative sentences and information in the soft and subtle way, and this is totally different in, let's say, in the case of the direct negative culture, where these negative information are communicate in honest and blunt, sometimes brutal. Here in this point, if you evaluate your coworkers, and I will repeat it in the third or fourth, maybe fifth times, do it only in private meeting with face-to-face with the one person, never during the meeting with the group. And here you can see why. So Philippines is one of the most indirect negative feedback culture, and opposite when you find the Polish culture, we are exactly direct negative feedback culture. Good practices when we summarize, evaluate the employee in private, like I said, adapt the communication channel to the interlocutor. Criticism in high context culture is best delivered in the face-to-face conversation. Choose your word carefully and try to be more soft and subtle when you're saying something negative. The great leader and here we are close here. I mean, we are close when we compare Polish culture, business culture, and the Filipino business culture. Both these cultures are strictly hierarchical. So the workers expect a strong supervisor. So the ideal manager is a strong supervisor, not, let's say, the soft partner. If you manage a team of people in a clear hierarchical company, keep consultation with the team to minimum. Why? Because your role is decide the decision. So decide, appoint, delegate, order, and control. If you don't know what level of shortening the distance you can afford, the good idea is always to be more ceremonial and formal than to cross this formal barrier. The Filipino people need the fair autocrat leader, not a nice democrat. And one more thing is that if you make a mistake, do not say too often and too much sorry, and even never. It's better to show that you are the guy with the power and you have the control in the group. Last thing is the time planning and the work organization. So Filipino people are the people who have the, let's say, who treat the time in the flexible way. So the approach to projects execution is a fluid with changing circumstances. So in the flexible time cultures, people treat deadlines like not the lines of death, but the suggestions. People plan here frequently, step by step, and the deadlines and the schedules are really important. For flexible time Filipinos, no. People and the time, these are two different, let's say, things, and and for them, the deadlines and schedules are, let's say, like I said previous, some suggestions. In the scale, you can see here that the Filipinos are typical flexible time scheduling culture. Like Polish, it's not typical, but somehow linear time schedule. But here we can also find some good practices. So the Filipino are past-oriented and flexible time culture. So in this type of culture, show respect of tradition and reach for examples from the past. If something worked once in the past, so probably will work next time. If you want to explain something, use this past orientation. When interacting with Filipinos, try to be more ceremonial. So show respect for elders, show respect for experience of your interlocutor, and demonstrate that knowledge about the country, history, the country culture. I mean, the Filipinian history and the Filipinian culture. In cross-cultural team, follow the time of linear culture, but remember, with a small margin of tolerance of delays. If you can, don't hold Filipinos accountable for the way they work is organized, but for the quality of the completed task. And when you make a decision about the past-oriented team, try to make it consistent with previous decision. And lastly, the past-oriented Filipinos are slower to learn and adapt to the criteria for conduct and action. Therefore, explain and clarify repeatedly. So explain many times why something is important and how to do something. And that point, we need to say stop. I need to stop because we don't have more time. I also recommend you some interesting lectures, interesting books about the differences in generally between the business cultures. So here in this short presentation, you have some short introduction to this fascinating issue about the differences, but also similarities between the different business cultures. So I cross the fingers and I wish you luck with your collaboration with culturally different Filipinos. Take care. Thank you and bye-bye.